Hey everybody, it's Bronco from Apex Vaulting. If you live in New Jersey, you definitely know at this point, summer is here. It's super hot and humid, but wanted to do a video for you guys today. I saw an Instagram post, I think it's OK Vol, I'm not sure, but I'll put a clip in right here at this moment, where he posted a video of Cornelius Warmerdam vaulting. For those of you that don't know, he's a former world record holder in the pole vault during the straight pole era, before fiberglass. And what I always find interesting, I was like looking at the comments and someone was like, oh, he really collapsed his arms, but respect, And I've often posted stuff with Bob Richards, who, if I'm being honest, I like Bob Richards' jump much better than Cornelius Warmerdam's. Also a former world record holder. Both guys are doing something roughly of a 3-foot push-off, which there's guys at the professional level on fiberglass today with better poles, with better scientifically backed training, and struggle to get a 3-foot push-off consistently. So this is very interesting that even though they had inferior equipment, right? Like, you cannot jump as high on a straight pole, guys today are not getting the push-off. And I think people think that there's some glaring, huge difference between fiberglass, carbon fiber, and straight pole era. And the thing is, although the pole material has changed, the human body has not. We have glutes, we have quads, we have hamstrings, calves, lats, pectorals, right? Like, our anatomy as humans has not changed since the invention of fiberglass. What a human is doing on a straight pole is essentially very, very similar to what we do on fiberglass. And the thing is, like, I remember even years ago, I posted something with Bob Richards' jump, and it was interesting because someone commented, who apparently is the grandson of Bob Richards, and was like, someone's gonna get killed trying to jump like him. Like, he was on a different kind of pole. You need different technique for fiberglass. And again, there are slight differences, and I will talk about that in a second, but there are some principles that are just the same. In fact, for those of you that don't know, one of the revolutionary things that Bubka and Petrov did, right? Bubka is one of 3 men in the history of the world to jump over 20 feet. Right now it's Bubka, Renaud Lavillenie from France, and Mondo Duplantis, the current world record holder. They're the only guys who have ever jumped 20. And Bubka at his time, like Mondo today, was breaking the world record a centimeter at a time because he would get a bonus from his sponsors every time he broke the world record. So he never really maxed out his world record. What could he have jumped? Look, I'm not even saying he could jump higher than Mondo can. That's not my claim. I'm just saying, obviously one of the best in the world in the history. And the thing is, Petrov, his coach, and Bubka decided they were going to mold their jump to how Cornelius Warmerdam jumped. They looked back at Cornelius Warmerdam during the straight pole era and took principles of his jump and applied it to Bubka's. This is why also Bubka oftentimes would warm up with straight pole drills, and straight pole drills were a staple in his training. They weren't doing it for fun. And they wouldn't have done it if there was no application to the pole that bends. And Bubka had a famous line. He said, "The bending pole hides your mistakes." And look, anybody who's a professional out there, anybody who's jumping super high, going to worlds and stuff like that, please keep doing whatever you're doing. I'm not talking to you. Whatever. But for any of us who are coaching high school and college level athletes, there's a slew of people that need technical improvement. How are they going to get that technical improvement? Well, trying to force bend a pole is not going to help. And I think that's the problem that happens with a lot of coaches. Everybody's jumping the gun. They're trying to get kids to bend the pole, and they can create a lot of mistakes. It is not uncommon at the high school level to have high school boys that are gripping 13 plus to jump below their grip. So now let's talk about one of the fallacies of the bending pole. Everybody's like, wow, the bending pole launches you. It's like a catapult. In fact, they used to make catapult poles, right? They called them catapult. Here's the thing. If that's the case, then why are these high school boys who grip 13 plus not jumping above their grip? They're clearly not getting launched. Like, it is not uncommon to see a high school boy grip 13 and jump 12.4. Now, sure, maybe you have a kid that's really fast, has great jumping ability, and has a weak upper body, which again, I'm sorry, but as a pole vault coach, that falls on our shoulders, because then we need to inform our athlete that they need to build a stronger upper back that will help during the swing and invert. If you don't think a stronger upper back is important, please do yourself a favor, look through a bunch of my videos, you'll see why it is. But you need a strong upper back in the vault. Your lats, your traps, your scaps are insanely responsible for getting your hips above your shoulders as you swing. So again, if the fiberglass pole actually launched you, then these high school boys that grip 13 plus, who clearly have some athleticism, will be able to jump above their grip, and they cannot. So there's a technical issue there. There's something holding back, because again, in the straight pole era, everyone's goal was to jump at or above their grip. You didn't want to jump below your grip. You wanted to have a swing, you want to be able to turn and push off, okay? I think people don't realize that where the drastic change came in, I think the highest grips I've ever seen for straight pole era vaulters was about 14. Now people are gripped as high as 17.8. So when the pole bends, essentially your grip is lower. And what you're hoping is that the pole unbends at vertical so you can push off from that higher height. And how do you move the pole? Well, you know, everybody likes to talk about pendulums and everybody talks about transfer of energy into the pole. But it's like, no, how do you get this pole to roll to vertical? How do you move it to vertical while also swinging and getting your body to rise? Guys, the straight pole era guys already did this. And some of the principles that are huge, like again, if I go back to that OK vault post with Cornelius Warmerdam, people are talking about his collapsed arms because his elbows were bent. But at the point where he finished takeoff before he started to swing, both hands were above his head. So he has now the leverage to engage his upper back as he swings. I mean, and again, those straight pole era guys, they would either slide their bottom hand up or slide their top hand down, because they knew the more space they had between their bottom hand and their head, the more leverage they would have to pull their hips up as they swing. Which, what does every pole vault coach tell their athlete? Get your hands up. Get your hands up. For what reason? And maybe some people don't even know this, but it's because you need your bottom hand above your head. Again, when you try to force bend the pole and now kids are locking out their bottom arm, their left hand doesn't get above their head. You'll get a situation where the left hand might be a little bit above the head, but way out in front, which again, you'll only have leverage to use your upper back to swing out or flag out. You won't be able to get a good invert. You might get upside down, but again, you'll flag out. You need to jump up, tip hits, and feel that left hand go above your head so you can have access to your upper back. That was a huge principle in the straight pole era. Those guys wanted to feel their bottom hand get above their head. And then, just like in the fiberglass era, guess what? They swing their legs, they engage their upper back, and I am so sorry, but as you are going through the invert and turn, your elbows have to bend, and traditionally speaking, it's always been called a pull turn. And then you push off at the end. Yeah, so look, this is also a piece of advice. I think a lot of times I get DMs or emails from coaches or beginner athletes that are asking for tips and advice in the vault. And the thing is, if you start your pole vault journey with straight pole and start to build an efficient jump, let's say you could jump at your grip or even a little bit above on a straight pole, wow. Now when you go to a pole that will bend for you, you're gonna jump way higher. Because the grip's gonna go up. Because once the pole starts bending, once you go on an appropriate pole that bends, you're gonna grip higher, and also because you know how to move the pole like a straight pole era vaulter, you'll move the pole better than someone who's trying to force bend a pole, and you'll actually get on stiffer poles. Like, I'll give two examples of athletes that I coached this year. I had a New Jersey girl that jumped 12 this year. I think she was gripping 12 or 12.3, and she weighed probably 135, 140. She jumped on a 165. She's jumping on a pole that is 25, 30 pounds above her weight. And again, a lot of people will watch her jump and be like, wow, you know, her left elbow's bent, she's collapsing, but her bottom hand gets above her head. And by the way, she's not like the strongest upper body girl, so she's not getting this insane push off because she could do like very heavy weighted pull-ups. I think her best pull-up is only like 20, 25 pounds, which my girls that usually do, huge push-offs, they're usually doing pull-ups with 65 plus pounds. Then on the guy side, I had a guy that weighed 150 that jumped on a 15, 165, 170 and gripping 14, 14.3, and his PR is 15.6. And so, again, getting some good push off, almost 2 feet. And again, I'll get comments, his bottom arm's collapsed. But what they're not watching is his bottom hand gets above his head. So he has leverage to use his upper back and swing and move the pole, which is why he's getting on poles above his body weight and why he can jump above his grip. And again, this is like pretty regular high school boy. He's not like super, super like worldly talented. So I think instead of looking at straight pole era people and thinking it is like a completely different sport, which it is not, I think if you take a cue from Bubka and his coach Vitaly Petrov and start to study the straight pole era and try to apply those principles to your athletes that are even if they're bending the pole, start to apply those principles, do some straight pole stuff, and then take your athletes who can't bend the pole yet and apply those principles, you might find that even the athletes that are not bending the pole, they're going to start bending the pole a lot sooner than you think because they're applying these straight pole principles. I hope this helps everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great week, everybody.